Hey everyone, this is Aaron Quick here. This is for our ITL 528 assignment, discussion number 3B today, or this week. And I'm going over, this is just a kind of a short brief overlook of what my lesson plan would be like. I'm a single subject physical education credential, and basically physical education has a little bit of different setup as far as like classroom environment. This specific 5-day lesson plan is for Ultimate Frisbee. So it presents itself in its own challenge, being a PE major over the time doing my observations and also just research. It's a very unique experience as far as being an educator in physical education, and as far as our time and how do we utilize our time in class. As well as like how we go about lesson plan building, and then when we can utilize using pre-assessments, ongoing, and summative, is a little bit different than I feel like other subjects. So for this specific unit, I'm going to be focusing on my lesson plan for day 5, which is going to be kind of wrapping up our full week. So for Ultimate Frisbee, day 1, we're going to be talking about proper form, technique, and we'll kind of work on working skills and drills for learning how to throw the Frisbee and different styles of throwing the Frisbee, like I said, with our stance. And specifically, I'm working in the 9th to 12th grade realm. And so as we progress on through the week, we'll be unloading things for rules for the gameplay, as well as offensive, defensive strategies, and how that relates to team building and team cooperation, and overall working towards the goal of obviously winning. So day 5, my lesson plan idea is trying to find utilizing time and trying to find time and how we can do some sort of summative or quiz aspect in a physical education setting. Can be a challenge. Like I said, we're not sitting at desks, handing out papers and having students sitting and trying to fill something out. So I find like, of course, there's always a happy balance with anything. So I kind of came up with like a pre-assessment quiz, right? So trying to finish out the week strong. The idea is to do this pre-assessment quiz, really drilling the kids so they build their knowledge pool of every aspect of the game, and then starting like a round robin style of tournament where we have short matches where teams will be matched up who have been built up through the week, and kind of rotate through, and that really just gives a fun kind of aspect to it. So starting off with my idea for a pre-assessment / quiz, I came up with some questions, really just kind of hammering home with everything. So I'll go through that. So my first question would be whether this is going to be on a quiz or test format or just a verbal thing. It's also something I can do ongoing. So as I'm going through, constantly just checking in my observation this week, preparing for next week. That's what we did a lot of, really making sure kids knew the rules, right? So first question would be, who could tell me the 3 basic offensive skills that were discussed on day 1? Okay, so answer would be throwing, catching, and cutting. Correct, awesome. Those are the answers I'm looking for. Second question, give me an example of cutting, and this is for offensive. And so the answer for that would be you can maneuver or run a pattern in order to fake or juke the defender. Okay, so that's the offensive strategy of and addressing this through the standard is learning patterns and also the coordination of that. So then the next question would be, when is cutting not acceptable? So I'm looking for a term of specific to Ultimate Frisbee, and this would be to use as a pick. And basically what that is you're cutting or using an offensive maneuver, but you're forcing the defensive player to be blocked by another player, and so that's called a pick, and that's not allowed. Okay, so that's the answer I was looking for. And then moving on to some more offensive stuff. What is an offensive stack? Okay, so this is kind of addressing offensive strategy as well as during gameplay. And this is when offensive players stack or line up in the middle, and from there they move the frisbee down the field. So they stack up kind of in this line, and that's where players will cut from. So you kind of avoid defensive picks, but also too, it kind of keeps the ball, or the frisbee rather, moving down the field. Then the next kind of section would be going into kind of game rules. Like I said, further just kind of reinforcing, drilling home with some of the stuff would be how long does a player have to throw the disc? The answer would be 10 seconds. When does the team turn over the disc? And that's really important, understanding to keep the game flow. And this would be if it's defended, whether like swatted, caught by another team, thrown out of bounds, turned over on a foul, hits the ground, or if the time elapses under 10 seconds. And then another question would be, how do you score a point? Right, that's obviously really important, and it's because it does have some details. So a point is scored by the team getting the frisbee in with both feet in the end zone on a catch, and that's really important too. So I'm looking for the specifics. So on a catch, they cannot slow down or run it in. They have to actually physically catch it in the end zone. And then the last question would be, what happens if a player catches the frisbee on the move? So looking for kind of reinforcing some more stuff is that they must stop or slow down within a few steps, and that's very important for the gameplay. So like I said, this is being day 5. From there, doing this pre-assessment, I could do it ongoing. A big aspect of physical education is now we have to observe, right? So we have to observe students utilizing their knowledge on the field. And it's not just mental, right? So besides knowing the rules, we're looking for team sports, like, obviously we want good sportsmanship. And then seeing how they're playing the game, like effort. That's the big thing that I've noticed is trying to get kids to buy in. I want them to buy in on effort. So a reason of being there, playing a game, having fun. So that's something that we can do as physical education teachers is we constantly have to do that. Because like I said, a lot of our units are measured through performance. So from there I can keep track of how well students are doing. And this also gives me a good chance to, on the last day, is see how well as a class overall we got mastery before moving on. But then also too is then I can start using this to either link or transfer to another sport or rely on previous knowledge. Okay, so that's kind of what it will look like for my day 5 lesson plan, and we'll see further more with in-depth. Thank you very much for watching the video. Hope you guys enjoyed. I look forward to any comments. Thanks.